patients and friends for a long time. Some of you I'm just meeting, so thanks for coming. Originally, this talk was actually slated to be an outside event to teach people who haven't been in this setting more about healthcare, specifically about stress. The topic is really about stress. But the context of this talk is a little bit different because a lot of you have heard some of what I'm going to say. But I think we lose sight sometimes in chiropractic in the context of coming in to get relief of a symptom. We lose sight of what these stresses really are and how these things, when they're addressed preemptively, how they help us live healthier lives. So the purpose today is to educate a little bit about identifying those stresses, where they come from, what they are, and what we can do about them effectively on a preventative level. So to start, we're going to talk about stress and where it comes from and the universal laws that cause stress to be a reality that we have to contend with. And when I say universal law, I mean in chiropractic we address these things here. That the power that made the body heals the body, and health comes from above down, inside out. And those are really important things to remember because they're universal truths. They're universal laws, we say. In school, in chiropractic school, there was the president of the school. He would often begin the philosophical lectures with a hello and an address, and then at the end he'd take his keys and drop them without saying anything. We never knew what he was doing. And then finally, we recognized that what he was showing us was this universal law of gravity, and that when he dropped the keys, they always went down, they never went up. And so it was that some of these things are inarguable. Chiropractic philosophy is important to address as a primary focus because that'll help you understand where stress comes from and how it affects your health. So in chiropractic, we address this universal law that, number one, the major premise, if you will, of chiropractic, that the body self-heals and self-regulates. Okay, the body self-heals and self-regulates, and that the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, are the master system and controller of the body. No one argues with those points of truth. Every scientist, every PhD, every researcher, every clinician recognizes these truths. Does that make sense? Right? The body self-heals and self-regulates. And the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, are the master system and control of the body. And in fact, it's interesting when you think about that in utero, the first thing that develops, anyone know? The brain and the spinal cord. Because without those, nothing else happens. Right? So we need that communication pathway first to tell the organs what to do. A lot of people think heart or lungs, right? No, it's the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. So that controls every function in the body to the cellular level. Okay? And furthermore, what I think is interesting to note in terms of stress is that only 1/10 of it is responsible for pain perception. So you have all this stuff going on the autonomic level, automatic, autonomic, right? So your body's doing all this stuff, and 90% of it is about that. Only 10% is about perceiving pain. So you can have lack of normal function and interruption to that nervous system via stress and not feel pain. So in chiropractic, we recognize that. We're here to teach people the truth about the way their bodies work and how to identify those stresses. So in terms of stress, let's play a game first, by the way. I want to do this first and show you how predictable this stuff can be. It's kind of fun. It's based on what's called the law of nines. Has anyone heard of that? The law of nines? Okay, so this is fun. We should probably have a pen for this and paper, but we'll try it really just in our heads for now. So I want everybody to pick a number between 1 and 9. Okay, just pick any number between 1 and 9. Everybody have a number? Okay, so now you take that number and multiply it by 9. So now you have a new number. Okay, everybody have it? So take that new number, and if it's 2 digits, add those 2 digits together. Okay, now you have a new number. Now take that number and subtract 5. Again, you should have a new number. I'm not that good at math, but I know I should have a new number now. I did a subtraction. So take that new number that you have and think of the alphabet. Correspond your number to the appropriate letter in the alphabet. So if you have 1 as your number, go to A, and that's your letter, okay? So whatever your number is, take the corresponding letter in the alphabet. So now I want you to take that letter, take a trip to Europe. and land in a country that starts with that letter. So now you have to know a little geography. Does everybody have it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now you're in that country, and I want you to take the second letter of that country and think of the biggest animal you can think of that starts with that letter. Right? Oh, wait a second, there are no elephants in Denmark. Right? Does anyone ever hear that, the law of nines?
We're all winding up with elephants?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you get an elephant in Denmark?
Yeah.
So it's fun because it's just based on this law of nines, and it's sort of this, we can predetermine the outcome, right? And in health, it's really the same to a large degree, but we're led not to believe that, right? We're led that we don't really have lots of control, and there's not a lot of predictability when it comes to our health, and a lot of it happens from the outside in. But it happens from the inside out. So if we take care of this body and we let it work right without interference, without all the stress, then great things happen predictably. So let's talk about identifying specifically what those stresses are. The stress is the interruption to normal function, that normal function is our natural state. And that basically there are two things that ruin our health: deficiencies and toxicities. Have you guys heard me say this before in the office?
No.
Okay. Because we've done some other talks. And, you know, I think that that's really key to focus on. Deficiencies and toxicities. And by the way, the guests have stress surveys. Have you filled those out already? Have you been working your way through those? Okay, because this will help you identify the deficiencies and toxicities to some degree. So, in terms of the deficiencies and toxicities, they're deficiencies in really four what I call essentials of life: food, water, oxygen, and nerve supply. Have you heard me say this, anyone? Food, water, oxygen, and nerve supply. So what does that mean, essentials of life? Without these, you can't live. They're essential to life. So there's no substitute for that. And in quality and in quantity, we need these things in order to be well. Lots of people live somewhere below wellness, and they have, essentially these things have been affected in their quality and or quantity. But we know that if we don't have them at all, if they're absent, we're not going to live. So good food, right, the right nutrition, there's another class for that, right? We know that lots of food these days is stressful to our bodies because it's processed, and it's chemically treated, hydrogenated, and you know, artificial sweeteners and dyes and genetically modified and all this other stuff. And a lot of that stuff's not even permissible or legal in other countries, but it's happening here. And you know, we have to think about the food we eat, right? Because those chemicals come into our bodies just as household products. We have to think about those things. And we should have separate classes on that to identify what's safe and what's not safe and why. We'll do that for you guys. Good pure water, we need that. We need to hydrate properly. Most people aren't hydrated really well. And the rule of thumb there is half your body weight in ounces. So just figure out what you weigh. If you weigh 100 pounds, you want to drink 50 ounces a day. Who's really good at that? Right? Pretty good?
I'm
Right?
fair plus.
Okay. That's a challenge. I know you're diligent. I give you a lot of credit.
Easy. Drinking water's easy.
It's, you know what, it seems like an easy thing, but we're all busy. So I'm strategic about it. I have water all over the place. And I make it easy to access. It's about accessibility a lot of times. And then you just have to make sure there's a bathroom